I don't know if that. Oh, there you go. Okay,
that's better. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for coming down, bro. Thanks for helping me set all of this up.
No worries.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. One of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you on this was because of your background in like music and guitar and everything. Right. How long have you been playing guitar for now?
God, I don't know how many years now. I guess I started around GCC, so probably around 7, 8 years almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 25 now. I would have been about 16. What's the math? Actually, nearly 9 years. Actually, yeah, 9 years. Damn,
that's somewhat late, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so guitar, yes, I started a bit later. Originally, actually, I started on piano/keyboard, but because it's not really a portable instrument, I tend not to play it as often as I probably should. I probably have lost touch with it mostly. Guitar was just easier to carry around and play with and help and just jam out with. So I tended to just naturally move towards guitar when I picked it up.
What made you start playing instruments?
Oh, okay. This is an interesting story, I guess. It was, I guess, parents pushing me at the start.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting. Because in the Malu community...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So there was a, keyboardist that came from India, and he came to where I live, the town where I live, and he started offering, group lessons.
Yeah.
And my parents heard of it and was like, they sent me and my sister, I think, maybe my younger brother as well, I'm not too sure. So yeah, we went for these group lessons, and I don't know what it was, but he noticed that I picked things up quite quickly. Yeah. And, I remember him having that conversation with parents saying, oh yeah, he's picking up things quickly and he's quite good. So from that conversation, my parents were like, okay, maybe this is something we should explore more. And then they started sending me to actual piano lessons where I had a piano tutor and we were doing grades and all of that.
Yeah.
Also learning the theory, the Western theory behind it. So yeah, that's how I picked up piano. And then when it came to GCC, I picked up DCC music, and that's where my passion kind of grew a lot more.
Okay. Did your parents do that with you quite a lot, where they allowed you, and your siblings, I guess, to explore avenues other than studying, or other than your studies, I guess?
I think I was lucky with the music thing when we first started, but as my passion grew, my parents were a bit worried because it started sort of infringing on my studies a lot more, and they were like, "Oh, you're spending a lot of time in music. You should probably focus on studies, especially around GCC time."
Yeah.
Even during exam revision season, we were doing gigs and stuff. And that would involve me being out the whole day or even the whole night or whatever. And my parents were kind of worried, so they did start pushing back on it later on in life. When I was doing it younger, they didn't really care because I was keeping on top of my grades and all of that. So they weren't too fussed about it. But as soon as it starts, I'm out and about a lot more and doing a lot more and not necessarily studying, they're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not a good thing. But
did your grades start suffering, or
no? Luckily not. I found a way to balance both, which is why I was always able to make my case with my parents. Luckily, so I was always like, my grades haven't suffered, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. Kind of
thing. So they were quite diplomatic in that sense.
In that sense, yeah. I think I was lucky. I think generally as a guy in Malu households as well, you naturally get a lot more freedom, and so I think I was lucky to be able to sort of have that as well.
Yeah. Are you the oldest sibling?
No, I'm the middle child.
Okay. Is the older one your sister, or
my sister's the older one? Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a younger sister, and what I've found is that the older ones are, well, if you're a guy anyway, you're able to push their boundaries a lot more, and the younger one usually ends up being able to push it even further, and their parents don't really give much of a shit later on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think my sister was quite good in that. She kind of paved the way for me. She was never she did what she needed to do and wanted to do, and she set the tone for me as well.
Yeah.
She kind of sort of empowered me to carry on doing that.
Because I remember just facing so much pushback for the stuff that I wanted to do, and then later on, my sister's just doing what she wants, and it's like going out, in our home city and like all of that kind of stuff. Like me and my friends, we would never like dream of doing that. But her and her friends, they just do it, and they just like they don't. I mean, they probably don't think of the consequences. But later on, they're like, "Oh shit, maybe we shouldn't have done that." Yeah. That's interesting. Right.
My parents always said that like it was quite funny with me because I never asked to do anything. I only ever said I'm doing it and just went. And like I never was like, oh, can I go to this? I was like, I'm going to this, by the way, and then I just did it. That's usually how I tend to do things.
Yeah, I started doing that later on in life. Later on, like probably during school. Later on, like maybe if I was 15, 16.
Yeah, it's the same time.
I think, because like before that, I'd always ask, and there's always the chance of them saying no.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I tell them that I'm going to do it, then it's more like I'm just informing them and not asking permission. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think probably a lot of people would end up doing that.
I think Molu households have a lot of similarity. We were talking about this the other day when we were saying a lot of people have similar lives, but also very drastically subtle things that make life different. But we do like have these shared experiences through culture and various things.
Right. Do you try and bring that into music now? Like where you said you learned the Western theory behind music, but do you bring that Eastern influence into it, or that Indian influence?
I try to, but me saying I is probably wrong. I think the people that I'm around now have a lot more of a sort of Eastern music taste and preference. So they have a lot more knowledge in that side of things. I didn't grow up with the Eastern knowledge. I tended to grow up with the like what do you call it, like rock and indie and that kind of music is what I liked listening to. And around when I picked up music, that was what I started playing.
Yeah,
and I was in like a band and stuff in GCSE, and that's what we played. So I came from the sort of Western approach, and then the people that I sort of do music with now come from the Eastern approach, which is quite nice because you get a nice blend of the both now. It's quite interesting.
To you, what makes music such a universal type of language? Because I'd say that music's probably one of the few things where, like, all around the world, you are kind of connected to it. Even if it's a language that you don't understand, you still kind of just feel the beat, feel the rhythm. You're able to kind of vibe with it. Like, why is it like that?
It's quite an interesting question. I don't have an answer to why I think it's like that, but when you listen to music, you're not listening to understand anything. You're listening to see how you feel. Like, music provokes emotion, whatever it may be, anger or I don't know, feeling of calm, mellowness. Some make you a bit more anxious and or put you on edge. And so music is provoking feeling within yourself. It's not about understanding what it's doing. It's more like it makes you feel a certain way, and everyone can feel emotions, right? So music playing kind of naturally does that for humans, and different songs have different effects on different people. So one song, me and you might hear it and have completely different opinions on it, and what it makes us feel, kind of thing.
Do you think, obviously being as involved in music as you are, do you think that makes you more emotional as a human being, or do you think you're able to access your emotions a lot more easily?
Oh, interesting. I've never really considered that, to be honest. I think I've always considered myself more of an emotional being anyway. But I don't know if that's because I've done music or not. But music is kind of ingrained, and because since, like I said, when I was younger, I was doing piano, and then I kind of picked up guitar. Music sort of become ingrained with my personality and who it is, who I am. So it's difficult to separate and say this is the effects of music, because it's just a part of who I am. So I don't know if that was the direct consequence, or some other part of my life had consequence and made me an emotional person. I don't know. I can't detach from that kind of thing. It's just life. That you become a certain way from the experiences that you have during life, I think.
Yeah. Who's the first artist that you try to emulate playing the guitar?
Probably Linkin Park. It's not an artist, it's a band. I don't know if you know them. But yeah, Linkin Park is the first sort of band that I was like, these guys are awesome. And I still think these guys are awesome. And I love Linkin Park music because it's so varied, and they've been around for years and years, and they've like survived for that long. Obviously, a couple of years ago, Chester Bennington passed away, which was quite emotional for me as well, because I always dreamed of going to see them live before obviously, like, I don't know, before they stopped being a band.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think they still do music and do tours and stuff, but with a replacement singer. But I think my dream of being able to see Chester and the whole band would have. I can't necessarily get that anymore. But yeah, I love the band and I love the songs they produce.
Yeah, I think those kind of experiences, like, you have to take it when it comes. Like, I think waiting around for like a second chance is always a bad. It's not a bad move, but you don't know what's going to happen in the future. Exactly like this.
Yeah.
In that regard, I was really blessed to be able to see Eminem perform.
Oh, no way!
Like in, I want to say 2018. Like, so it was the day after my graduation. I'd wanted to see him for ages, and I found out he was playing in London, and I was like, okay. I was looking at tickets to for me and a few of my friends as well at the time, and I was about to buy the tickets, and then they were like, "Don't buy it. We've already got you the tickets as a birthday present."
Oh, wow!
Awesome. Yeah, that was genuinely one of the best birthday presents I've ever got.
Yeah,
because it was completely unexpected, and I went to see him, and it was amazing.
I can imagine. Yeah, he's an amazing artist. He's another one that I think is on my list of like top artists that I definitely want to see at some point.
Yeah, it's 100% worth going to see him, because you see, obviously he's one of the GOATs of the industry, to me anyway. And I think just being able to see him perform live is amazing. Like the influence he's had on the industry. And the more you listen to his music, the more you realize how much of a lyrical kind of genius he is. Because like just the way you make stuff rhyme. The stuff that doesn't rhyme, he makes them rhyme as well. That makes that rhyme. That's really, I think that's what sets him apart from like the whole crowd. And obviously, he's also like a white artist as well. In an industry that's predominantly black. So that, I think that has come with like its own challenges for him as well. But like, he's definitely cemented himself in it as one of the greatest of all time, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's one of the greatest as well. It's interesting that you sort of bring up his sort of ethnicity as well, because for me, I like, there's a question, especially with all the recent scandals around musicians that come out. There's a question of how much do you separate the artist from the art, kind of thing. Should you consider the artist's, like, I don't know, views and perspectives on things when you consider his art, or his or her art? Sorry.
I don't think so. I think the art should remain a separate entity from the artist.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of the best way to kind of just keep it as pure as it possibly is. It's a big thing in comedy now, where the jokes that they say on stage get taken completely out of context and get misrepresented and like miscommunicated, and the artist ends up getting a lot of hate online. But music, I mean, obviously, with stuff like Michael Jackson and like R. Kelly, that's completely messed up. I think that kind of stuff definitely is, you know, like, I wouldn't say like worth censoring, because you can't really do that. But I think people should maybe like take a bit more of a wider approach, where they kind of consider it. Like, you know,
I get what you mean.
Because if you listen to their music, then you are effectively supporting them. And the question then becomes, do you want to support someone who might be a pedophile? With Michael Jackson, it was never confirmed, right? Because he died before everything could come to light. With R. Kelly, he's a pedophile, and I think he's now in prison for sex trafficking.
I didn't follow that case enough to see where it got to, actually.
But then, it becomes a question of like morality, where are you supporting like what they've done by choosing to listen to their music or not? Because effectively, like, if they get paid with you listening to their music, then you are in a way supporting them.
But it's quite difficult, no? When you, I don't know, just the song comes on, you enjoy it, and you're like, oh no, actually this guy is not that good.
But maybe that's what we come back to like why music's a universal language, because there's no thought behind it. It's everything's like feel, right? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I genuinely don't have an answer to this. This is a question that I think about as well. I've had this conversation with various people, and everyone has different opinions on it, and I don't really have an answer. I think it's more of a case-by-case basis. I think, like you said, the R. Kelly one is a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
It's like, it's out there and quite blatant. Whereas there's a lot of other artists that I think might have like shady pasts or shady like things about them that you kind of turn a blind eye to because you don't really want to know. You don't care. For me, I tend not to research like celebrity lifestyles and stuff too much. I don't care. I'm not a big fan of like following their lives, their personal lives. I tend to just listen to music. If I like the music, I like the music. I don't know what they get up to in their personal lives. I really don't know. I know a lot of people like follow their sort of like artists like lives and everything. I've never really done that, which is interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of artists that I listen to which are probably bad, and I wouldn't even know about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, like you said, I don't think you really gain anything from following like celebrity lifestyles and all of that stuff, because at the end of the day, you're just taking time away from yourself and stuff that you could be doing.
Yeah.
And you are effectively just like wasting your time away. But yeah, it's something to think about, right? It's like, am I supporting like them as a human being, or am I just like supporting the art itself?
Yeah. I think people will have very different views on it. Some people will, like I said, not care about the personal lives. The art is the more important thing for them. Whereas some people also think the art is very heavily associated with the artist because it's a form of self-expression, right? Art is a form of self-expression. You're putting some part of yourself into, be it painting or music or whatever thing that you produce. It's a part of you that you're putting into that. So you can't detach a person from that art because that's who they are.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to it, you're also kind of listening to a part of them, and you can start thinking of it as like that's kind of weird as well and wrong. So yeah.
Right. Do you think now that obviously you've been playing the guitar and you've been involved in music so heavily that it's become quite difficult to separate yourself from the music, in the sense that it is a big part of who you are?
Yes and no. I think for me, I never really took music as a career option. I never really took it as like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
For me, music was always a hobby and a form of like a release, of getting things out, frustrations and stuff out through music. So I only ever saw it as a hobby that helped me express myself in a way. So for me, I could, there are times, actually quite recently, I've not really done much music out there a lot in quite a while, and that's okay for me because I'm not putting pressure on myself to do music like constantly and all the time. I'm not trying to release music to get fame or attention or whatever. I just, whenever we have a nice song, we're like, okay, maybe the rest of the world would want to hear it too, and we put it out there, and we do, we released the Nineteri song, and that was like a lot of effort and a lot of work that we were like, okay, this is a sick song, let's put it out there. This is something I want to be proud of and other people to hear as well. But there's lots of stuff that we just generally, sometimes we just jam and create something and just forget about it.
Yeah. Tell me about the music video. How long did it take you to kind of go from the inception of the idea to, the song, the video, everything?
Okay. If you're talking about the true inception of the idea, that was done in my first year. So that guitar sort of riff or theme or hook, what you want to call it.
Yeah.
I actually just created that in my first year when I was bored at home one day, and I was just picked up the guitar and I was just playing around. And I created this little riff, and I was like, oh, this sounds really nice. Do
you do that quite often? Where you just make your own?
Yeah. So this is what I mean. So sometimes when I'm feeling, I don't know, a certain way, and I'm like, I want to just pick up the guitar, I'll just start messing around. And I wouldn't say that I'm the most theoretical musician, so I don't have a lot of knowledge. I have some knowledge in theory, but I don't have a lot of knowledge. So the way I tend to play is I just pick up the guitar and start making notes and random chords and seeing what sounds nice.
Yeah.
And that's the way I kind of operate, and like seeing how it makes me feel. Does this make me like give me that goosebumps that I want? And that's one of the riffs that I created. I was like, this is really nice. And I think I remember posting a short snippet of it on my Instagram, and nothing happened of it. I just took a video, posted it on Instagram, and that was it. I forgot about it for years to come. And then 2-3 years later, we were doing a band called Selly Hills. Don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
So I think it was after one of our most of our exam periods. We were all in university together. So after one of the exam periods, we were like, let's just go chill, do something. So we took our guitar, went to the park, and was just vibing. And I remembered the riff, and I was like, I brought this back up. And then I remember sort of like the other guys kind of joining in and like adding layers of vocals and things like that. And we were just like jamming out, and we were like, this is sick. We should take this into a song. But we didn't like take it seriously for like another year as well. Like even after that, we were like we're not really, like I said, none of us were really like, oh my god, we're going to make a career out of this.
Yeah.
So we kind of took it at our own pace. We never really pushed too hard with it. And then a year later, I think I was like, okay, that was a good song. Let's try and make it into something. So me and Alan started working on it together. First of all, to flesh it out into a bit more of a song. So Alan got I believe his auntie in India to help write some lyrics, because we're not the most like fluent Malayalam writers. We can speak it pretty well, but writing is a whole different game, because like writing poetic Malayalam is very different. You really need to know the depth of the language. So I remember her, she sort of wrote a lot of the verses. We had the chorus pretty much ourselves. I think Alan did the chorus himself. For the verses, I think she gave us a load of like example verses, and then we took that and filtered it down a lot more. And then we brought Saban or Brian on board to help like produce the song and make it into something that's like listenable, like not just an acoustic track. Because right now all we had was guitar and vocals, but Brian fleshed that song out and put his own element into it as well. Like you can really see the drastic change where what we had and what he came and brought on as well. So I think it was an effort from all three of us, and we put a piece of all three of us into that song.
Yeah.
And that's how the song came about to be. It was like years of effort, I guess, if you really consider it. It was just, but lots spread out.
That's crazy. So you said when you came up with the original riff, it was just something that you were feeling. So what were you feeling in that time when you...
I wouldn't be able to remember. I genuinely don't remember. Like, it was so long ago. Even when I played it to the guys, I was just like, this is a nice riff. I don't remember what I was feeling at that time when I wrote it, because like I do that so often. It's just like when I'm feeling, I don't know, maybe a bit down or something, I'm like, okay, I'll just pick up the guitar and just vibe for a bit, just chill out. And it's a way to just blank out the world for a bit, isn't it? Like it's just the guitar and the music, and I sometimes I sit in the dark in my room. I sit in the dark and just play guitar and like blind out all my visuals and just listen, and try and just create music that way. It's quite nice, because like all of the other senses are kind of just not doing much other than hearing.
Do you have a big love for the art, don't you?
Yes, I love. Yeah, I have a deep appreciation for art in all forms. Like I really love like creative expression. There are things that I prefer, but I can appreciate every form of art, kind of thing.
You always had that?
No, I don't think so. I think this is something that grew with my music. Because before I started doing piano and stuff, I can't actually genuinely remember listening to music. I didn't have favorite artists. I didn't have like a song that I really loved or anything like that. I can't remember listening to music as a thing. It was never really a part of my life. But now it's just like anything I do, I'm generally listening to music or trying to play something or do something. Like it's always part of my life now. But pre that time, I just don't remember what I was like. There was no passion. There was no like none of that for me. So it's interesting. That's kind of grew with my music as well.
Do you think it's because obviously when you started learning the guitar and you obviously I'm guessing it was quite difficult when you started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then after going through that, you learn to appreciate how difficult art is, because it's such a subjective thing, and it's not objective, is it? It's like everyone has their own preferences and taste, and then you kind of learn to appreciate it way more because of something that you've done yourself.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it did come from the fact that I struggled to learn that instrument, and then even after learning that instrument, to be creative with it is so difficult. Like like trying to find that creative part of your body is really difficult. Like, you don't always get it. Like, there are times where I'm like, I want to create something. I sit down for an hour or two and I'm like, nothing's coming to mind. So I can't even imagine these artists that are releasing song after song after song, album after album, doing loads of these things. And I'm like, how are they so creative that they're like constantly being able to like produce new things? Especially like I said, Linkin Park, bands like that, they've been around for years and they've changed their style so much over the years, and they're so like drastically different. Like, if you listen to old Linkin Park, and then there was a phase they kind of went into pop, and then like they've kind of gone back to it, and it's just they have like phases where they've kind of evolved through various different genres of music, and it's really interesting to see how they've really sort of grown with the time and adapted and like just tried different things. And to keep still being such a well-known band after so many years is I think a great achievement.
Is that something you don't see that much anymore in terms of like we were talking about how now it's all about how you market stuff, right?
Yeah.
And do you think, with, I guess maybe it's kind of the attention economy that we like live in at the moment, do you think there's a part where the art has suffered a bit? Because for me, I love like rap and hip hop, and I would say that as an art form, like, it hasn't gone down in like in many instances and like circumstances where I do genuinely feel like the art has like suffered compared to like art from like the 80s and 90s and like even the early 2000s. Like, it's completely different because like you've got mumble rap now, and like it's all about the visuals and the music videos and trying to make it as kind of catchy as possible.
I don't know if I'd necessarily say the art has suffered. I think it's changed a lot and it's become something different for me anyway. I think this is where it's quite difficult, because people attach a lot, like you said, we talked about it early on, saying like music is about how you feel, and you attach a lot of that feelings to music too, and to certain songs and certain types of songs. So for us, we grew up in a certain period listening to a certain type of music, and we appreciated the stuff that before as well. For the people that are sort of growing up now, they listen to this and they appreciate this. They might identify and more relate with the type of music that's being put out now, which is why they probably appreciate it, and this is why they still have a growing fan base, right? Like, so
I guess that's true. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, so it's different, and I like I said, I hate to say that art form is bad. Like, all form of art is. I appreciate most forms of art, and some things are not my sort of personal preference, and I don't enjoy listening to it. But that's because I like a certain type of music, and I like a lot of type of music, and like, but that's what I grew up with. So that's what I sort of identify more with. But even some of the newer songs, there are a lot of really nice ones actually. I do find myself sort of listening to some of the newer ones. I really enjoy it. I wouldn't say all of them are great, but personal preference, I guess. That's what's so good about music. It's individual taste. Like, I guess, like what you like.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that, because you're completely right. If the art form was suffering, then their fan base would not be growing as it is. Yeah, it's completely subjective then, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to the earlier point of how it's changed as well. Like, I think you mentioned the idea of marketing. I think that's always been there. Like, when you take music as a business or an industry, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done to get music out there and recognized, which is like marketing it and doing these tours, and that some of it isn't pretty and isn't what the artists want to be doing, right? Like, as for me, if I took music as a career, I'd have to worry a lot more about how I'm releasing these songs and what have I got lined up next, how am I going to publicize it, like what platforms am I going to use, and what other things am I going to do to build my name and brand and all of that kind of stuff. So I'd have to consider all of that, and that's been around in some way, shape or form previously as well. Like, Right now it's a lot different because there's such like vast arrays of like social media platforms, and you have to try and create reels and TikToks and stories and all of this stuff, and it's just like it's a lot more noisier, I think, now, because you've got so many different streams of like publicizing music. So it's a lot more noisier, so it can be quite difficult to filter all of that noise out. But yeah, I think it's been around.
Do you think because of like all of the noise and the different ways of marketing it, like we're talking about, Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and all of that, do you think there are like great artists that end up slipping through the crack?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there are people who don't necessarily learn how all of that side of works, and it's a very crucial part of making music a business and a career.
Yeah,
you've got to see it as a business and a career. It's not, for me, that's why I've not really, I think, succeeded as much, because I've not had the passion to make it into a business or a career. I've not worried all about all that as much. We do a bit when we're releasing the music. We did kind of plan it out about how we wanted to do it, but not to the extent that we probably should have if we really cared about it.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't want to do that, and that's the difference. I think some people want to do it, want to build something out of it, and you've got to put the effort in to grow it. And that kind of is difficult to do, because it does mean you have to step away from the art sometimes for a bit and focus more on what the public like and what is doing well and following the trends and all of that. And that's, it can be quite difficult to do.
How long did the music video take?
Music video wasn't too long. In terms of once we had everything fixed down, I think it wasn't too long, but trying to find a videographer and then work with them to figure out what's possible and what isn't took a bit of time, because we didn't really have many contacts at the time. But we managed to find an amazing guy where his company's called Wicked Visuals, and he's called Albin Jacob, and he's super talented, and for like, he's pretty young as well. I think he's younger than me as well, and he's super talented for his age. The stuff that he produces, like he's done loads of music videos, and the stuff that he produces is such good quality. Yeah. And he puts like his heart and soul into it, and you can see that in the videos that he put so much effort into it.
Yeah.
And the guy was at university while he was doing it, so he was doing his assignment while we were sort of like planning the music video and stuff. And like there was a period where he came over to my house before the music video, so and we planned all the music video out for the like next couple of days, and then he was sitting and doing his assignment late night, and I was like, this guy is super driven. Like he's building that career. So he sees his hobby as like his passion and a career opportunity for him, and he's putting the effort in for that.
Okay.
Even though he's got his backup option of whatever his degree is, he's still sort of pursuing this side hustle.
We're seeing that more and more within our community now, I think, where people are pursuing like the creative arts as a career and more than a hobby.
Yeah.
Because you've got like quite a lot of people making music now, and I find it quite interesting because there's this theory that it takes about 3 generations for someone who's a foreigner to assimilate into a culture, right?
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, is it because of that? Because I cannot imagine like our parents like coming over here and saying, "Oh, I want to like start making music or whatever." Yeah. And like I don't know, like what I wonder if our kids are gonna end up doing stuff like that, and like what our reactions would be in terms of would we actually be supportive, or would we be quite cautious? Like, do you ever think of stuff like that?
Yes, for sure. I definitely agree. I think it is what you said around it takes 3 generations for you to fully assimilate into a culture or a different area or country or whatever. I think when our parents came over, their sort of priority was survival.
Yeah.
Getting a good landing and getting a good footing and being stable was their main priority, because they just moved everything from one country and where they've known everything and like they've been like knowledgeable and like valued in a certain way, and you come to another country and you're like starting from the bottom and you've got to climb your way up. And I think my parents were focused on that, and that was their main priority, and they kind of instilled that on their kids a bit as well, and they kind of made me a lot more cautious about taking risks. I'm not going to just up and leave my career because I'm like really passionate about music. So I think there is that sense of what I grew up with my parents. I took a bit more risk, but not to an extent where I've just completely dropped everything and said, this is my passion, I'm going to pursue it. But with my kids, I think I'd be a lot more open for them to pursue music as a career if they really wanted to. Following any form of art as a career is always a big risk because you never know whether you're going to make it or not. It's a bit of luck involved in that, I think. But yeah, if it was my kids, I think I probably would support them a bit, but I'd make sure that they see the reality of it, not just the fact that they love the passion for it and that they have the passion for it. That's not enough these days. Having passion for something isn't enough. You need to have the drive to put in the hard work, to like do the stuff that's not pretty, do the stuff that you don't necessarily enjoy doing, which is what we talked about earlier about marketing and planning all of that. Doing all of the stuff that goes around the art itself is important if you want to build a career out of it.
Yeah,
I think.
What was your first exposure to the stuff that goes around the art? Because you did, I remember you saying yesterday that there was a point where you kind of stopped, you didn't enjoy making music as much because you were looking at the other kind of side of it as well.
Yeah, I don't think there was a distinct time. I think there was a period of my life where I was trying to do more music and forcing it and trying to put more music out on my social media platforms to build like fame, essentially. That I think and then that wasn't what I started music for, and I started getting lost in that, trying to build the fame. So then I started like following, I don't know, there's like, what time do you release the Instagram post to get the most traction and stuff like that. There's like things that I looked into and I was like, why am I doing all of this? Like, is this what I want to be doing? So I kind of got swept up in all of that, and it's not really what I wanted to be doing in the music. But for someone that would be building a career out of it, should be looking at those kind of things, should be looking at how to play the algorithm and try and get more traction for their posts and build their brand and all of that. So I didn't necessarily enjoy it, and I kind of stepped back from music a bit after that. I was like, okay, no, this is not what I started it for. This is not what I want to be doing. I don't want to be caught up in this.
How long did you take a step back for?
I feel like I'm still kind of taking a step back, but I think we're working on plans to do a bit more. I think, it's difficult because there's a fine line of we've got this talent, we've got this ability. Why waste it? Why waste it doing nothing? So do something, but not to the extent that where you're like constantly so focused around how many likes am I getting on this post, and this post didn't do well, why didn't it do well? And like we're not going to fuss too much about that. We're just going to be like, let's try and make some songs, do some covers, generally just enjoy music again. Because I think stepping back, I actually lost the passion for music a bit as well. I didn't pick up the guitar as often like I used to, where I'm feeling low, I didn't pick up the guitar. That wasn't my automatic go-to. So I need to try and rekindle that passion as well a bit.
Right. But then what replaced the guitar for you in that time?
TV shows, music, I guess. So like movies and stuff, I just generally just relaxed. I think it's also starting work. It puts you in a different mindset, where you do a 9-to-5 job, whatever, right? And as much as I love my job, after your 9-to-5 job on a Monday to Friday, you're tired. Like even on the weekdays, you're pretty tired. You've got other things to do when you're living out. You've got like your own chores and all of that kind of stuff to do. So trying to find time for the music, you had to put an active effort in. So I kind of let that slip because I was more focused on building my career and focusing on like doing the work that I'm doing. And then after I've done that, I wanted to unwind and I'd put a movie and watch TV shows and things like that. And then that's all I really had time for at the end of the day. Oh, and plus a social life as well. Don't forget, you want to have a social life as well. So finding time for the music in between all of this stuff was quite difficult. So yeah, I think recently I'm going to try and, like, I've made more of a mental note to try and put more active effort into finding time for music. So be it an hour a day or half an hour a day, just planning things that I want to do, be it with Alan or be it by myself, and like try and do a bit more music. Nothing too strenuous. But
how long have you known Alan for?
I'm in my first year of uni. That's where I met him, through a mutual friend. Like when I was coming to university, like when you're coming to university, you want to try and have someone there that you know a bit. So I remember mentioning to my friend, being like, "Oh, I'm going to this university and I don't really know anyone." I'm like, "Oh, a bit worried about it." And she was like, "Oh, I know this guy. He's a singer. Or like he's a singer. He's in the same university." And she gave me his number. So I messaged him before I came to university and was like, "Oh, you're here. Like, I'm coming to university. Hi, this is my name. Like, this is what I do and stuff." And we kind of touched on the music side of things and said, "Oh, I play guitar," and he said he sings and stuff. So that kind of left it there. And then when I came to university, like, you get swept up in the induction stuff, the stuff. So I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. Forgot about how I messaged him and stuff. And then one day, as I was walking through the university with a couple of my friends, I remember him sort of walking back home with his little cycle. And I remembered his face from the DP, like his sort of profile picture on WhatsApp. And I was like, "Oh shit, that's Alan." So I went up to him. I was like, "Yo, Alan, this is Basil." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, calm, nice to finally meet you," and all that kind of stuff. And then he was like, "Just come over to the house later that night, bring your guitar and we can just jam and stuff." So I was like, "Yeah." I was like, being a first year, you want to say yes to like most opportunities that sound interesting. Not every opportunity, most opportunities that sound interesting. So I was like, "Yeah, this sounds good." I was like, I'll come through. So like, and then we texted each other the address, and yeah, from there I met his friends, and then kind of like became part of the sort of Malu scene in Birmingham. I was never really part of the Malu scene when I was like before I came to university, and then I kind of just through them became more widely involved with the Malu scene.
Interesting. So growing up, I'm guessing most of your friends were white, or not Malus then.
Yeah, mostly white. I had some Malu friends, but I think we were also very similar position. We weren't really involved in the Malu scene, and I wasn't that close with them to start with. I was more closer with my sort of white friends, because that's what I was exposed to at school. Like, I saw my school friends. My Malu friends were more like when we went to the Christmas programs or the Onam programs. That's when I saw those guys, and like they were calm. We were all calm with each other, but we weren't really like close like that. So yeah, I grew up with a more westernized background, I guess.
Okay, so is that how the band started then? Just you and Alan kind of jamming out, and then
yeah, basically.
Okay.
So Alan used to live with Pratik and Brian, the other two guys in Selly Hills. So they had their house together. I had another house, like, and I was living with some like first years and stuff a bit further out. And I basically never really saw the inside of my house. I was living with those guys so much. Like, I was just staying. I'd go home, shower, maybe have food, or bring food over to their house, and then just sleep there. Essentially, I'd stay at their house, and it was nice. It was a nice experience. I kind of felt like it's that college experience in India. I think I kind of got that vibe, and I kind of got back in touch with my sort of Malu culture, and like speaking Malayalam was a big difficult thing for me. I spoke it fluently at home to my parents. They raised me to speak it with them.
Yeah,
but I never really had the confidence to speak it publicly like that, because I don't know. I feel like I always get judged for it, and I'd never really spoke it like that. But came to university, came to their flat, and they're just full on Malayalam all the way through. Like, they're just full on like Malayalam, and I'm like, oh god, what have I let myself in for? But being around that, it's just naturally made me speak Malayalam more and more, and I appreciate that. I really love the fact that I've gotten back in touch with that as well.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm probably the same as well, because when I was growing up, Exeter's doesn't have that many Malus there to begin with. So most, if not all of my friends are white growing up, and then I probably started picking up more Malayalam when I came to uni.
Yeah.
But it's not that I didn't speak it, because I lived in India, I could speak, write, and read it. But I was starting to kind of not speak it as much anymore. And then came to uni, and mostly being around like Malus all the time, you start speaking it more, and and then I remember coming back home, and my mum was like, "Where have you picked up all this Malayalam from?" Like,
they were genuinely shocked as well. But it was really nice because it meant that I could conversate with like Malu adults a lot easier. Before, I used to like panic whenever you see a Malu uncle and auntie having to speak to them in Malayalam. Like, I'd always panic. But now, like, I can have a natural conversation with them, which is really useful to have, because like we're around a lot of Malu uncles, even when you go to like Indian stuff. Being able to like converse in that language is a lot makes life a lot easier, and having the confidence to, it makes life a lot easier. I think that was my biggest issue, that I didn't have the confidence to speak it, because I'd be worried about saying the wrong thing or saying the wrong word or something like that. But now I just say, if I make a mistake, they'll teach me. So
Okay. And how did you guys end up deciding to start a band? Because I'm assuming, like, at the start it was just you guys just jamming out and like messing up on the guitar and like singing and everything else.
yeah,
At what point did it become a band?
I think we had kind of iterations of a band coming through. So there were events that we were going to, and like we would be asked to perform a song or something, because they were already kind of involved in the music scene. Like Alan was known to be a singer, and Pratik was like a very talented, like multi-instrumentalist. So I think they were already very involved with the music scene. So they were getting events or requests for coming to do a program or something like that. So when I joined along with them, we'd obviously go, and we'd ask, like they'd be like, "Oh, how do you want to be introduced?" And we're like, "We don't know." So I think one of the gigs that we went to, we literally just made some random word. I think it was called Yuva or something. Is the name that we gave. It was like a temple program that we went to play a bit more classical songs with. So we literally just made the name there and then on the spot.
Yeah.
And then I think after that we came back home and we're like, okay, we probably should talk about band and stuff like that. And then I think there were 5 people at that time, so we made a band called Army of 5, and we called it AOV, as in like 5 being the sort of Roman number for it. That was the band for a bit, and then I don't know what happened. I think one of the guys kind of moved further away, or like didn't necessarily get involved with the band as much. So then we became Selly Hills. That's when we called Selly Hills because the place that we were living in Birmingham is called Selly Oak.
Yeah,
and we were on the top of this hill, on the road. Our house was on the top of that hill. I don't know if you've been to that house. Like there were many parties that were held in that house. Sorry. So yeah, that's what we called ourselves, Selly Hills. And then that's how the band kind of officially started. When we released one of the covers, what was it? I think Gali Waliga. That was our first sort of cover under Selly Hills.
Okay. Do you guys have plans to make any more like music videos?
Yes, we do. When and how that will look like, God knows. Like I said, we're not that driven.
Yeah,
I think we can get quite lazy, and we don't spend as much time as we probably should releasing them. We've got a couple of songs that we've written, in terms of the sort of basic music element of it and most of the lyrics for it, and we've got that ready to be produced and made into a music video. But that's where it takes a lot more effort. Like producing the track, it actually takes a lot more effort than people realize. I think, like once you've written a song, you don't just write guitar and music and guitar and vocals and that's it. You add a lot more layers to that song, and the producer does a lot of work to flesh that song out into something that you'd want to listen to again and again and again.
Yeah, and
then on top of that, you've got to consider the music video and how you're going to do it, and like getting videographers to do it. That also takes a tremendous amount of effort as well.
Did Brian do the producing for Ninja 30?
Yeah.
Okay,
but it wasn't like a normal producer scenario. It wasn't like we went to him with like a pretty much almost finished track and he just made the track out. He was very heavily involved in the shaping of the song as well. Like all 3 of us kind of collaborated on that song, which is why we're all 3 named artists on it. Like we worked together heavily to build that song out from what we had. Yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned that when you first started learning the guitar, the instructor said that you picked it up quite quickly, right? Is that something you've always kind of been good at? Like, we talked about this a bit, right? About the nature versus nurture debate.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that you've always kind of been blessed with in life?
Yes, I think I was blessed with the ability to pick up things quite quickly, personally, for me, which is what, like when I picked up the piano, I picked it up quite quickly. And even when I did the guitar, and even when I was doing, I don't know, other things in life, like, I don't know, science and maths and stuff, I tended to be able to pick up difficult concepts quite quickly. And I think that's the nature element of it. Like I was able to pick it up quite quickly. But I'm a firm believer of, nurture always outweighs nature.
Yeah.
So if you really put your mind to something and work hard at it, I think you can overcome whatever obstacles your nature has for you. Like, even though I had this natural talent, there was a lot of time spent practicing, rehearsing, all of that time. Like, there's a lot of effort still put into developing that talent.
Yeah.
So even if you have a talent, you've got to put the effort in. But even if you don't have like natural talent, I think if you put the effort in, you might have to put in a bit more than someone's already who's naturally talented. But if you keep working at it, there's no reason why you can't surpass the person that's got natural talent and get further. In my opinion, anyway, I think I'm a firm believer of nurture over nature. I think nature plays its part, but nurture definitely overpowers nature.
In that regard, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this. Do you have any opinions on things like manifestation?
What do you mean by manifestation?
Well, the way I understand it is that if you want something, you can manifest it for yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Or and that's kind of how I understood it. I haven't fully kind of understood what it stands for, but to me, it just doesn't seem like something that I personally believe in.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're skipping out a lot of the steps in between from where you want something to achieving it.
Yeah.
Like, you're skipping out the hard work, you're skipping out all of the failures that come, like, just all that kind of stuff. Like, have you ever thought of that?
I think, like, I don't necessarily believe in the part of manifestation where they seem to believe that the universe will bring it back to you and make that happen.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe that side of things. But manifestation as a motivation tool can be quite powerful. It's like self-affirmations, right? Like, you wake up and you tell yourself that you are an amazing human being, and if you keep repeatedly doing it, you start believing it. And manifestation as a tool of motivation can be quite useful. Saying, I'm going to achieve this, will put your mindset in a way that's like determined to do it. And then the hard work and stuff that you need to put in, you'll be able to tolerate it a lot more. So I think manifestation is a useful tool for motivation, not necessarily something that you can just be like, put it out into the universe and it will definitely happen. I don't believe in that kind of thing. I think it still requires the hard work and effort that goes along with everything.
Do you reckon it's just one of those like new age, I'm going to choose my words really carefully here, mumbo jumbo?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really speak on that. I mean, I have a personal bias in the sense that, like, I'm Christian, so I have a certain belief system that I go by, and I don't necessarily believe in what they believe in. I believe that there's a God out there who you pray and you lead a good life and you ask for things, and things that you need will be given to you in certain aspects, but it's not handed to you. You've got to work for it. You've got to put the effort in, and that's what Christianity kind of teaches. I think for me, you can pray for it. He'll support you in the efforts that you want to put in. That's what I see. It's like it's a guiding hand in the things that you want to be doing, more than he'll just give it to you on a silver platter.
It's that quote or phrase, God helps those who help themselves, right?
Definitely. That's what I believe.
And like Chris Rock, like the comedian, he's got a bit where he says, if you see a guy who's got a broken down car and he's sat on the outside, and he's just sat in the car, right? No one's going to stop and help him push the car. But if he's pushing the car himself, there is a higher chance that someone is going to stop and actually help them out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what I've always kind of figured, where it's like people do like to kind of complain about their situation, or just in general just like moan, but they don't actively take steps to change their situation. And yet they expect the universe or others to kind of go out of their way to help them, and they're not really helping themselves. Right. Just when you just touched on this, that's kind of what I thought about it.
I agree with that mostly. I think in light of all the sort of mental health sort of awareness that's coming about, I think there are situations where you're brain can make you think in a very negative manner and make you not necessarily see the positives of things, or give you the ability or the strength to take action and improve things. So I think it's not a case of when somebody isn't doing the things that they should be doing, it's not because they just like choosing to. Sometimes they are like unable to, because of the fact that their brain is making them think in a certain way and not giving them the ability to do that. And it's difficult to know which one it is. And there's no way to know if someone's choosing to not put in the work, or someone's struggling to put in the work.
Yeah, I think even if someone is struggling to put in the work because they can't, I think there are still tools at your disposal which you can choose.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you, like for me, therapy was like a big like game changer for me.
Yeah.
Because I understood that I needed to do something to change my situation, because I was repeating the same patterns of behavior over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, therapy really did help kind of break out of that cycle. And it gave me the tools to understand myself as a human being and why I do certain things the way I do, and like so on and so on. Like, did you face that kind of struggles, like where your mental health like kind of declined and you had to kind of take a step back and reassess things?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are phases in my life as well where I've gone through struggles which I think affected my mental health in certain ways. I think everyone has their own struggles, and it's each their own, and they go through different things and they experience different things in a different manner. So what's difficult for me might be very easy for you to deal with, and what's difficult for you might be very easy for me to deal with. So yeah, I've been through phases where, for me, what I faced was too difficult for me to deal with. And I probably didn't do the right thing. I didn't go to therapy or counselling, and I didn't do the right things, and I probably should have. But I somehow managed to find a way to fight through it, and sort of get through it. We were talking about this last night, where I've always had the mentality of if even if there's something drastically wrong with my life, or I'm struggling with something really badly, I still do what I think needs to be done. Like, I don't know, because a lot of it, like, life has a way of throwing inconveniences in the worst time. So be it like during my exam seasons at university or GCSE or A levels, it always seemed to be around that time where something bad happens, and then that you're left with the choice essentially of just stay at home and like feel like sad, and like I was blessed and with having the strength to fight past that and think, I've got these exams to worry about. I need to go and study. I would sort of compartmentalize and push those problems of what I'm facing away for a bit. And just go focus on revision for how many hours, and then come back and deal with those emotions for a bit, and then day in, day out, just constantly do that. So I did what needs to be done for my future self not to be affected. So I worked hard for my exams and made sure that I got the grades that I needed to, so that I'm not screwing myself in the future. But I don't know if that was the healthiest way of dealing with it or the best way of dealing with it, but that's how it worked for me.
Were you able to separate those two things quite well then? Like your studies and your like emotional well-being at that time?
Yeah, I was. When I went to revise, I would just purely focus on the revision, and I'd forget about whatever bad stuff that I was dealing with, and I'd also separate my environment out, so I wouldn't necessarily be at home and just be in my room, because I think that made things worse for me. So I'd go to the library, where it's a different environment. It's a bit more like spacious and roomy and people around. So it was a lot nicer for me. So I'd just go to the library, sit there, work there from morning till evening, and then go back home in the evening when I know that I'm done the revision for the day, and go back home, and then I'm able to relax a lot more. And I kind of got to a point where I'd forget about the issue, and I'd just more focused on the revision, until obviously when you're done with the exams, then you're like, oh, all of these emotions that I was bottling up, or you kind of have to deal with it, and you'd find a way to deal with it later. I don't know how I dealt with it, but you'd get through it, kind of thing, in slow steps.
Yeah. What other kind of techniques did you use for kind of helping yourself separate out? Obviously, you talked about the like the environmental. You change the environment, which is good. But obviously, you still got like. Did you have any kind of like remnants of the emotional stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what would you do to kind of separate that out as well?
I think it was a mental thought of like, I know there's bad stuff happening, but like, there's good stuff in your life. Focus on that, and don't ruin that for yourself. Like, focus on building your life and building it the way that you want to build it. So like, doing well in my exams, and then going to university, and then doing well at university, and building a career in a way that I'm able to have a successful job and be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And then nobody can really dictate my life after that. Like, I know the government and everything will have some say on it, but there's a lot of control that you have of your own life. Once you stand on your own 2 feet and you're earning your own income and you start having your own place, you have a lot more independence, and nobody really can affect that. No matter how bad things get, you can just detach yourself from that and think, this is not something I want to be part of anymore. Once you're sort of on your own feet. Otherwise, it's quite difficult because you're dependent on a lot of people and a lot of things beforehand, and you kind of have to put up with shit to be able to like get through life.
Do you think your experiences have made you a much more resilient person?
Yes, but I don't always think that's a good thing. I think the way that I've dealt with things, it made me strong as a person, but it's also kind of weak in the sense that I'm not that comfortable with talking about my emotions and putting stuff out there. I prefer dealing with things on my own. I just want to go away and deal with things, but I'm not good with sharing and dealing with emotions together with someone and communicating those issues, which was a real problem when I got into a relationship that I'm in now. My girlfriend would want to know what's affecting me, and I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm just going to go deal with it myself. And that was quite difficult for her, because being partnered with someone like that, you'd want to know what's affecting them, and you'd want to know why they're acting the way they're acting. So I had to make a conscious effort to like try and be more communicative of what I'm feeling and what I needed. If it may still be that I need some alone time to deal with it, but at least she's aware of why I'm feeling that way and why I'm at the position that I got to, kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you do that more now?
Yeah, I try and do that a lot more now. Maybe not perfectly. There are times where I'm still a bit not perfect in dealing with my emotions, but I think it's a sort of understanding game between both of us.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I would have thought, well, like we were saying before, because of the music, you said you're quite an emotional person, right? And we were talking, maybe was it because of the music as well? But I would have thought that because you're an emotional person, you would probably have it more to the surface. In a way.
Yeah, I think I do. So I when I say I'm an emotional person, I think what I meant was I feel emotions a lot more quicker. I tend to be. I tended to be a lot more emotional back a while, like a year or two ago. I'd feel those emotions and react a lot more drastically based on the emotions. More recently, I've realized how that can be quite detrimental to me. Reacting solely on emotion can make you do things that you regret. Because when you're feeling sad or angry, and reacting purely on sadness or anger is not always helpful to you. So I've started taking more of an approach of, when I'm feeling certain emotions, I try and sit and process those and understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling before I make any reactions or decisions. It's not 100% of the time. There are definitely times where I have outbursts and I don't necessarily have the control, but I'm trying to work on that control of, when I feel a certain emotion, trying to reflect on why I feel that way and understand what it is that needs to be. Is there something that can be fixed? Is there something that needs to be done? And then doing that rather than lashing out when I'm angry or upset. That's the kind of approach I take now.
Is your girlfriend quite understanding of that?
Oh yeah, massively. Like I said, I was not like that a year or two ago when we were dating. So I think she had to understand where all those things came from. And she helped me understand it as well. And we talked through those things together.
Yeah.
And that's when I started realizing where all this comes from and why I react the way that I react. And then, like, she helped me be a better person, in the sense of, like, she helped me realize all those things and realize, okay, that there's no point reacting like that. It's not achieving anything. If anything, it's pushing her away and making things worse for me. So I was like, I need to seriously consider how I react to these emotions, these feelings, and I have, and think about where it's coming from and what needs to be done about it as well. Like, it might be that something that she's doing is affecting her, but instead of instantly lashing out, I have to try and figure out what it is and try and do it in a constructive way. That's the main aim. Try and do it in a way that she feels comfortable and I feel comfortable, and we get the end result.
Yeah.
She always has this quote that she likes to say, is that, like, it's never me versus her, it's us versus the problem. And that's the way that we try and look on anything that goes wrong. We try and figure out what exactly is the problem. Is it something that, like, I'm not getting enough or she's not getting enough, and how can we fix that problem? Is it something that we can work on together? Like, she does something, I do something, and we try and meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of way we approach it.
What made you decide that she was the one who you don't mind me putting the stuff in?
No, this is fine.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. What made you decide that she was the one that you wanted to, well, spend the rest of your life with then? Was that like a turning point when, obviously, to have someone this understanding with you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the fact that she's always wanted me to she's always made me want to be a better person. And it takes a lot to make someone want to be better constantly, and constantly reflect on themselves and think, am I doing this correctly? And she brought some control into my life, and she made me sort of reflect a lot more on myself and how I do things, and made me calmer and deal with things a lot calmer and understand life in a better way and just look on life in a better way. And that's ultimately what you want, right? Someone that makes you better in your life. And I know that's really selfish to say. It's like,
no.
You want a partner that makes you better as well, like makes you a better person. You grow together. That's what I've always wanted, to build a family that's like growing together and like happy and peaceful. That's what I want.
Do you share the same values then?
I don't know. I don't know if we had a conversation about values specifically, but from what I know of her, I think, yeah, we do have the same outlook on life. We are very different people on a lot of things, but we're also very similar on what we want out of life. We're not looking for, I don't know, like, neither of us are very like, oh, career will be our be all end all. We'll have a career, we'll have a good, successful career, but up until the point where we're comfortable, not to the point where we're earning loads and loads of money. I just want to be comfortable enough so that I can provide enough for my family to have a good life, not a luxurious life. We'll have the bare minimum for sure, and some luxury. That's the kind of level I see it at. And I think she kind of shares the same view, is more about spending time with the family and making sure that we build a happy family rather than trying to be successful on our own. That's the kind of mentality that we have.
Interesting. Is that how you've always wanted your... Is that something that you've always wanted?
I think so. I think even when I was younger, I even though I didn't know what it meant, I knew that I wanted to have a small happy family, with a medium-sized house. Like, nothing like I don't like big houses because it just feels too spacious for me. I don't like tiny houses either, because obviously you want a bit of room to move around. But like a medium-sized house where we have enough space to move around, nothing too big. Because I go to these mansions and you think, how do you populate this house? How do you feel at home in such a large house? You've got so much space and air, and like, you're not really like, you just vastly separated out. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want that for the future. And like, having to look after a house that big as well, it's just like, I don't want to put that effort in. I'll just constantly be cleaning the house.
Do you reckon, like, I share that same mentality in the sense that I do, like, if I do end up having a family, I do want to spend as much time with the family as I can, like, in a lot of regards. And I always wonder if that came from parents obviously working like super hard when we were younger because obviously they just moved to a new country, like you said, trying to put your own 2 feet on the ground and like trying to just make ends meet at certain points, right? I wonder if that's where it comes from, where you want, it's almost like you want to provide the life for your kids that you wished you had. Like, where I do wish, like, you know, we had like weekends where we did stuff and that kind of thing.
I think it partly does play a role in, like, we didn't necessarily have our parents be around as much because, like you said, they were working a lot. But I don't blame them for that, because I know now in my life, I know what it takes to survive. Even to just survive and get by, it's quite difficult. I kind of imagined what they went through when they moved to a whole different country where their language, like their English wasn't great when they moved here, and having to communicate and do all of the things that I'm doing now. I don't know how I would have done it. Would have done it. Like, I don't know if I would have been strong enough to survive what they went through. So I don't blame them. But it's also like, what I wish I had that, but there's no. So like the only thing that I can do is going forward. Luckily, my parents set me up in a position where I'm able to succeed in this country, and I'm able to like speak fluently and have a good career here. So they set me up for success in my own family. So I'm going to take that blessing and I'm going to carry that forward, kind of thing.
100% agree with you. I probably realized how much of a big difference it is once I started moving out and living by myself, and then it gave me a whole new respect and understanding for my parents, because like there are days when I come back from work and I'm just absolutely destroyed, and you got to cook, you got to clean, you got to get stuff ready for the next day, and they'd be doing that from like, they'd be leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning, coming back at 8 at night. Like, it's not even like a 9 to 5, it's like a 12-hour shift, and they'd still do all of this for us. And just experiencing it gave me a whole new respect for them, and how daunting it must have been to come to a new country, like you said, where you don't speak the language, and how it must, I don't know if your parents came from the Middle East or how it must have been even more daunting to go to the Middle East, because obviously the rules and laws there are like even more stricter than here. It's crazy to think about it, and I think that kind of appreciation just comes with age, as opposed to, because like when you're younger, you're obviously like, you're a bit dumb, and you don't necessarily appreciate things from like a wider context, where I mean, like, your parents might be away a lot of the time, but to put food on the table, it's not, because they enjoy like being away from you.
For sure. It's not just that as well. I think like one thing I've learned as well, like when I started appreciating it, was like I realized a lot of building your career is about having the right conversations with the right people. And when you're limited with your language, it's really difficult to convey your intellect, your knowledge to the people, to make you, like, to get you promoted, to get you up the ranks and building your career. Because like when you're on the lower end of the rank, you're forced to work insanely hard to be able to like make ends meet. But the higher you go, it's more around the type of conversations, the type of thinking that you do is not as some sort of hard work, in terms of like physical hard work, it's a different type of hard work. So for them, it must have been very frustrating to be able to like, to not be able to like build a career. They're just working hard day in, day out, just trying to make money. That's all their primary focus was. They're not worried about climbing the ranks as much. They're not. That's more a longer term goal. If they can get it, then great. But if their primary goal was just work day in, day out, try and get as much money as possible.
I know that it was like frustrating for my dad, because he came from an engineering background, and obviously because of language barrier, he wasn't able to pursue that here. And because he was a big influence in me deciding to go into engineering in the first place. And I do remember like how frustrating he must have felt, or like how frustrating it must have been, like to not be able to pursue that career and that passion that you've built up like all your life, and effectively having to kind of give it up. And the reason that you're giving it up is for your kids to have a better life. And I think a lot of kids, they're not kids anymore really, people from our generation don't really appreciate the sacrifices that our parents have made. But at the same time, I also think that our parents expect us to make sacrifices because they've made sacrifices for us.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is necessarily fair.
Yeah.
Like, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's not a perfect system. Like, I appreciate a lot of the sacrifices that my parents have made, and for me, like, even doing music stuff actually was a part of appreciating the sacrifices that they made, because I was like, I'm in a country, they've set me up in a position where I can speak the language well. I'm not just going to go down the route of study and just a job. I need to explore the life. The blessing that was given to me is being able to explore life a bit more and look at what else is out there. Doing music, I've done lots of other types of art as well. Like, I used to dance. I used to do acting a bit as well. So, like,
really,
not like professionally. This was when I was younger. I did like drama, GCSE, and for a period I was like, oh yeah, this is quite interesting. But yeah, I've always wanted to say yes to every new opportunity, because I'm like, I want to just try it. If I like it, I'll carry it on. If I don't like it, then I'll drop it. Even the career that I'm in now was just a blind leap of faith. I was like, this looks interesting, I'll try it. And then I completely switched like career tracks in my A-levels. Before my A-levels, I wanted to be a physicist because that's what I enjoyed doing. I liked physics at A-level, and like that was what I wanted to do. And then when it was like the A-level options day and you have the little walk around and you see all the different subjects, I remember seeing, so I was going to do physics, maths, further maths, and chemistry. That was the typical sciences route that you went down. And then I remember seeing computer science on the list, and I was like, this seems interesting. I have no clue about the subject at all. I've not done any programming, nothing at all. I barely even worked with computers at this point. And I was reading this, and I was like, this seems interesting. It seemed very problem solving oriented, very like focused around problem solving, and I liked the idea. Like, that's kind of what attracted me towards maths and sciences anyway. So I liked the idea, and I was like, this looks interesting. I was like, I'll pick it up. And I think at the time, schools let you drop a subject in the first 3 weeks.
Okay.
Like, if you don't enjoy it, it lets you like swap, and like, because it gives you a grace period when you can really firm your decisions. So the first 3 weeks is kind of like that period. So I was like, I'll take it, and then I'll drop something. I might drop this, I might drop another one in the first 3 weeks, depending on what I do and don't enjoy. And I remember sort of starting to look at it, and then like starting to study the course, and they were teaching, I think, Python or something in very basic form. And I remember taking it home and just going like 3 levels above and just like trying to build a game out of it. And I just took it to another level, and I just found a passion, like I did for music. I found a passion for software and computer science. And I remember the code that I wrote was absolutely horrific back then, because I barely knew anything. The stuff that I'd been taught, I tried to use that and build a game out of it, and it was very limited knowledge. Like, I didn't have the sort of vast array of knowledge that you need to build a game. So I used whatever, like, it was like for loops, and I don't know if you know what they are. So it's like for loops and if statements. I literally just built a game using for loops and if statements, and it was a whole like battleships game. I remember building that with very limited knowledge. So I was like, yeah, I just found a passion for it. So I ended up carrying on all 5 AS subjects because I was like, I didn't know what to drop. I just enjoyed all of them, and then going on to my AS levels, when I was like, okay, chemistry wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. I didn't really enjoy it that much, so I dropped that and carried all the rest on for A levels. So yeah, that's how I found my career. It just in my A levels, just randomly thinking, oh, this looks interesting, I'll try it. So I've always been someone that's open to opportunity. So whenever something comes my way, I'm like, maybe this sounds interesting. I'll try it.
That's quite cool. Because you said that you're quite an introverted person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, but you also say yes to opportunities as well. Do you find that quite like different in a way?
Not necessarily. I think my sort of introverted nature only really applies in social situations.
Okay.
When it comes to certain things like this, I don't know. I think it naturally develops from one thing to another. Like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, to be honest. Like, professionally, I wouldn't consider myself socially awkward. But put me in a party, and I'd be in the corner hiding because I'm afraid of what to say and what to talk about. Professionally, I know how to elaborate knowledge and talk about things that I'm working on. And that's different. Like, I don't have an issue with doing that. But when it comes socially, I'm like, what do I talk to you about? What do I say? What do I ask you about? Like, and what if I say the wrong thing? What if I like upset you or piss you off? Like, I don't want to be doing that. So I get in my head too much about those kind of things. So I think that's why socially it's where I struggle a lot more, and I tend to be more introverted. But I think I'd consider myself more of what you call, I think it's ambivert, where once you get comfortable with a group, like the group of friends that I have, if you see me around them, I'm a totally different person to if you see me at a party that I don't really know people. Because if you, like, in a party where I don't really know people, I'll be like very quiet, very reserved, very somewhere in the corner, like hiding. But if you see me with like a group of friends that I know, I'm like a lot more bubbly, a lot more chattier, and make jokes and laugh a lot more, because I know what I can and can't say, and like I feel relaxed, so I can open up a lot more and not worry about being judged. I think that's why I'm introverted in other situations where I'm worried about being judged or saying the wrong thing. Whereas in my group of friends, I don't have that worry, so I can be a lot more extroverted. So opportunities. Oh, sorry, going back to your earlier point, opportunities kind of naturally come through things, and like I'm not looking for opportunities, but when something comes your way, you say yes. And I don't think sort of whether you're introverted or extroverted, that there'll be a lack of opportunities. I think opportunities will come through. You just have to be open to seeing them.
Yeah. I think it's worked out pretty great for you.
Yeah, luckily, God willing, it's been good so far. I always think to myself as in like, if I were to die tomorrow, would I have regretted anything or missed out on anything? And I'm like, from what I can tell, from the cards that I was dealt in my life, I think I've made the best of it. I think I've really done what I wanted to do so far. There's a lot of stuff in the future that I want to do, but that takes time, and there's things to build and there's things to be done. But with the cards that I was dealt in the life that I had, I think I've made the best of it, and I wouldn't regret dying tomorrow.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of hindsight is 2020 in a way, where you might? I mean, you said that you don't regret stuff, but just putting into context, where if you might regret something, you would have had to go through that situation to realize that this is something that you would regret. That or whatever happened is something that you regretted. Does that make sense?
Not sure I fully understand. But I think what you're alluding to is like you have to go through something before you know if you're going to regret it, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I said, like, I tend to say yes to most opportunities and then realize, okay, this isn't something I want or something I should be doing or whatever, right?
Okay.
So my regrets are, I don't have many regrets of something that I haven't done that I had the opportunity to do, because most of the times I've tried it and realized that this isn't for me, or tried some small aspect of it and to realize it's not for me, this is not what I want to be doing. So I've always made decisions like that. So am I going to regret this in the future? If I say no to this, am I going to regret this in the future? Probably not. Or if I am going to regret it, maybe I'll try it and see what happens.
Cool. Are you happy now with who you are as a person?
Yes, mostly. I don't think I'm ever perfect, so there's always things to work on.
Yeah, but I mean that goes for everyone. I think. I mean, like the idea is that no one's perfect, and you'll always work on improving yourself.
Yeah.
As a person. But overall, are you happy with where your life is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I mentioned this to you as well, but I was just saying that the phase of life that I'm in at the moment, I feel so blessed to be in this phase. I'm so like happy in the situation that I'm in right now. Like a lot of people like talk about university and stuff and say, oh, they miss university, and I'm like, I genuinely don't. I made the best of university. I had fun there, with what I could, and now I'm in a different stage of life, and I'm having fun here. I'm not missing that because I got what I needed to out of university lifetime, and I don't really want to go back to that lifestyle, because when you're at university, you're broke and you're living to a budget and you're having fun to a budget, and that was great at the time because that's all you could do, and I made the best of that. But now I have money, and I'm like, it opens up a whole variety of activities that I couldn't do before, and like lots of different things, and I'm like, wow, like there's more to life than just going out on a night out or chilling in the room. Like I still enjoy doing those things, but not as often.
Right. So what does happiness mean to you now, after having been through uni and like all of your experiences now? Like, you said it before that you're much better at finding a balance and stuff now as well. Like, what does happiness mean to you? right now in this moment?
I think fundamentally happiness for me is about stability, is about having a stable, peaceful life. That might be kind of an old thing to say, as in like having just a normal life is actually quite happy for me. I like having a day routine, like doing the things. But also I'm blessed to have a good social life. I'm blessed to have friends and a girlfriend, and so I don't know, if I didn't have those things, maybe just having a day-to-day routine wouldn't be enough. I'd want to do more things. Because I have friends and a girlfriend and all of that, and family and all of that, right? We do stuff together. Like we go out, we do activities together, we meet up, we chill. So I get a good balance of everything. Like I get a balance of working hard, doing my own stuff, doing my own daily routine, but also then being out on the weekends, meeting people and socializing, doing things, exploring, learning. So yeah, I think I have a good balance of everything, like a well-rounded life. So right now, what I have, if I can carry that on for the rest of my life, I'd be happy to, kind of thing. But obviously, when kids come and all of that kind of stuff gets in the way, like life will change and your priorities will change slightly. And I'm hoping I'll still be happy with whatever change may come my way. But we'll have to see with that. But right now, like, yeah, I take what blessings I've been giving and just be happy with that kind of thing.
That's great. I think with regards to balance as well, I think that's something I'm becoming more and more aware of now. Because, like I was telling you before, I tend to have a tendency to go like all in on something, and I think, like I was saying before as well, in hindsight, might have been me running away from like dealing with problems I was experiencing before. But now I've kind of become more rounded in the sense that I'm able to process stuff a lot better, and I'm able to kind of I know what tools are available to me to make myself into a better person and experience things. So like I think now with regards to happiness, I have more of an attitude where I'm like, yes, I am happy, but the happiness is kind of temporary, because I doubt you'd always be happy all the time.
For sure.
And I think if you were happy all the time, you probably would forget what that feeling is like as well. And so while it might be temporary and it might pass, like it will come back. And I think that's helped me develop a bit more of a carefree attitude towards life in general, and like things in general as well. Like before, like I was saying, if I hadn't been able to go to the gym for like a month or something, I'd feel really anxious, and like I'd feel like upset about not being able to go to the gym. But now it's like, if I've skipped a week, then it's fine. I still have like, I can go next week. It's not like the gym's going to shut down. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, when you were just talking about balance, I think like I realized that I'm applying those principles to my life as well now. Especially with like starting a new job and like starting a master's and like all of that stuff as well. I think that, so yeah, somehow it's just kind of timed out really well, where I have managed to kind of get a balance for myself as well.
What does happiness mean to you then? Like, so I mentioned stability being my form of happiness. What does happiness mean to you?
To me, it means being able to push myself and become the best version of myself. It sounds really vague when I say it like that, but being able to try new things, being able to keep improving, like every day. Like I was saying to Sandy last night, I want to be able to go up a belt in jiu-jitsu within the next 3 years. I don't know if that's possible, but that's something I'm aiming for. Like I want to try and grow this as well. That's something else I'll be pushing for, and just pushing for my job, and like just being able to constantly learn and keep improving myself to be better than I was the day before. That's kind of what happiness means to me.
Okay, so like setting short-term goals and achieving that, like sort of incrementally improving your life, or like setting a short-term goal, improving a belt or getting a job promotion or something, and then trying to meet that is the way that you motivate yourself daily and stay happy. You're working towards your goals.
And in a wider context, like the people in my life make me happy as well, but I don't I think if I start attaching my happiness to them, then it becomes problematic because I don't think your happiness should be dependent on any one person. Because I think it's not fair on the other person either. If you start saying like, my girlfriend or boyfriend is the reason I'm happy, then I think that sets a pretty dangerous precedent.
Yeah, it does.
Right? But my friends do make me happy. My family makes me happy. Like the people in my life, you know, like, they do make me really happy. So I guess there is that as well.
Yeah.
Like, do you find that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. People in my life bring me joy all the time. But like you said, I'm not reliant on them to bring me joy. People aren't perfect at the end of the day, and there will be stuff that will let you down or make you upset or whatever. And if you put your entire happiness reliant on one set of people or one person, when they do let you down or eventually like upset you in some way, that can be a lot more drastic, and you might have a lot more drastic reaction to it because you don't expect it, because you're putting so much pressure on that being perfect, because you want it to be happy. You want it to be happy, and your happiness is reliant on that. So you put so much pressure on that, and it makes one mistake or like an issue like much worse than it should or needs to be, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you become very attached. Like I said, you don't want to let go, because that's your source of happiness. It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
It's like once you found a source of happiness, you're like, I don't want to let it go, no matter how bad it is for you. It's like you're just constantly chasing that happiness. That's one thing I remember actually when I was going through a tough time. I remember thinking like, oh, I just want to be happy. Like I just want to be happy. But then I remember reading around happiness and just thinking, stop chasing happiness. Chase life goals, and then that happiness will follow, kind of thing. Like set what you want to achieve, and happiness will follow with that. When you achieve these little things, like you said, you have these like little life goals, and when you achieve those things, happiness will follow. Instead of trying to be like, what makes me happy, I want to just do that for the rest of my life. Just constantly chasing happiness, because happiness isn't permanent. It will be very temporary, and you can't chase happiness for the rest of your life. So you chase individual goals and find happiness in and joy in those things. That's the way I think I sort of changed my mindset.
Oh, it's been great, bro. I think that's well, is there anything that you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say massive thank you for having me on the show. Like I genuinely, like, it's so interesting how you seem to stimulate conversation. Like I said, I was talking to you about this before last night as well. I'm not a talker. I'm not a big chatter. But to have an hour and a half or 2 hour long conversation with you, it just seems easy, because you just naturally have this ability to like draw conversation out, which is an amazing talent that you have, I think. So massive thank you to bringing me out and having a chat with me.
No, thank you for coming down. Thank you for your nice words.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's it.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Peace.